Hello, welcome to the Step Stories podcast. I'm your host, Robin Breuner, and I want to give a special shout out to all our new listeners. I'm so excited. We've got quite a few new people tuning in, and we're so happy to have you and hope you'll enjoy our newest season, which is starting with our guest today, Kiki Goshay. Hi, Kiki.
Hi. Thanks for
Thanks for
having
being here.
me.
Yeah, thanks for being here with me today. How's your summer going so far?
It's going to, it always goes too fast. Like I wait
Yeah.
all year for summer. I'm a summer person. So I already get panicked that the days are coming. They're so long that I'm like, oh no, are they going to start getting short soon? And so I don't know. I just soak it up. I love summer.
Oh, I do too. Although I'm kind of a fall baby, so I do love the fall, but I like to enjoy each. At this point, we want to
You
enjoy
just
each
have to enjoy
season
them
as
all.
everything for sure.
Yeah.
Um, so I've known Kiki for a while now, but unfortunately, we don't see each other very often. But you are someone who I've always admired so much. You
So
are a
sweet.
woman of many talents and many generosities. And so I'd love to tell our audience a little bit about you. So, just going to read a little bit.
Okay.
But Kiki is the founder of Goshay Productions. She's worked on both narrative and documentary films. Her passion is to use media for positive social impact, and you've really done that. I've
Thanks.
been over the years a little part of watching these productions go for, particularly the documentary called Not Alone that you created to shed light on the stigma around teen mental illness and prevent youth suicide, which was hugely impactful. And some
Thank
of
you.
your other films, I'm just going to read them, called Empowered. And we can talk about each of these, but I'm just going to list them right now, real quick.
Okay.
That was a documentary film celebrating the research, technology, innovation, and collaboration that's paved the way for a renewable energy future. And I know that's your latest one you've done, right?
Yes.
And that's kind
Yes.
of where you are these days, I think, in working with climate change and the environment. So I'm going to circle
Right.
back to that. But the other films you've done a feature film called The Job and Shades of Green, a television pilot. You were the producer, and How to Eat Your Watermelon in White Company and Enjoy It, a feature documentary film on the life of Black filmmaker Melvin Van Peebles. So that sounds really interesting
It
too.
was great.
And so I know, like I said, you're a major advocate for the environment and for children. Tell me a little bit about how you've gotten to that place in your life. And then we're going to talk a lot more about children and
Right.
families.
I think just naturally even before I was a mother, before I was married, I was always concerned about the environment for sure. And then even as a really young person who wanted to be a mother, I've always been, um, worried about things that affect children. And I think maybe part of it coming from maybe a difficult family myself, I've always felt like kids need to be looked out for and that there are there you never know what's going on with somebody as far as what they're thinking, how they're feeling. So I'm a huge advocate for mental health and for early intervention and care of children as they're developing so that they can be healthy individuals when they're grown up.
Absolutely. And so important.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Well, before we do, I just want to mention two other quick things because these are important things. You founded a program called Cool the Earth, which
I
is
didn't I wasn't a founder. I was on the board, the
founding
first board.
board member.
Yes,
Okay.
Lillian Cullen, a neighbor and one of my heroes, was the founder of Cool the Earth, but I
A-
jumped in behind her to help her.
oh, I know
Yeah,
you were a major force behind that, and also Captain Planet, which you're still involved with, right?
I'm on the board, yes.
Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about those
Well,
programs?
both of those programs are about empowering children to, take action to prevent climate change and to actually just improve the environment. Captain Planet not only um, focuses on not creating the bad, but really getting kids into understanding the importance of soil and water and air and their connection to it. So really making them growing environmental advocates and uh, children that are going to really be stewards for the planet.
So your whole world has been really focused on kids,
It has.
and that's why I wanted to have you on the show, because it's not just about kids in this sense. You've been a foster parent, you are a mother, and then you have another unique situation in blending families. But let's go back to your own family and talk about your family of origin a little bit, because I know that that had an influence on how you look at families today and your own family. Can you talk
Yeah,
about your family? Yeah.
sure. I was raised and I was born in the 60s or actually the late 50s, um, by two Irish Catholic, very Catholic parents. My mom and dad met in college, married right after, and had 6 children in 7 years.
Wow.
And then they got divorced. Their marriage didn't last very long. My dad got involved with the neighbor lady down the street,
Mm.
and their marriage ended. And at the time, we were living in South Florida, and my
Mm.
mom moved us back to her home, which was Cleveland, Ohio, and my dad remained in Pompano Beach, Florida. And their way of navigating sharing us or dividing us or whatever it was to my mom had custody of us whenever we were in school, and my dad had us for every vacation. So literally, we were on a plane the day after school got out for any vacation, any holiday, and for the entire summer, we were with my dad. So I really felt like someone that was split in half.
Mm.
And I had two very different lives and different lifestyles. My dad was a real yachtsman, and we were on boats with him, and he also had a plane, his own small plane, things like that. And then my mom, when we were in Cleveland, were very she was basically a full-time mom, but also was a full-time worker too. So we were latchkey kids when we were living
Mm.
with our mom, and finances were much tighter. So we actually had two different kind of socioeconomic lives within the year too. So I
That's
learned a
really
lot and
interesting.
yeah, I learned a lot in having two very different lifestyles. I mean, the good part of that is knowing that happiness didn't necessarily come where there was more money. My and even things like I wasn't happiest when we were cruising around in the Bahamas. I just wanted to be in Westlake, Ohio with my friends going to the community pool. So, in some ways it was really good. I learned about what was valuable to me and what was important. But my father married a few years after they were divorced, and he married the woman he was having an affair with, but not right away. So he dated other people, and then eventually they got married. And his wife was incredibly possessive of him, and I never saw my father alone, not even for a walk or anything, from the time that she moved into their house, until his death. And I think that part of that came from coming from an affair and knowing that you can't own somebody's heart, really, you just have to be in their heart. And they had a really great marriage, except that she pretty much pushed his relationship with his kids pretty far out.
Kiki, I
So that
can't
was
tell
tough.
you how many times I've heard this story, and it also happened to me as well. And um, it's very interesting, and particularly it seems like with fathers and new wives.
Yeah.
And the one thing I've tried to do on this show, because I've really my eyes have been really opened up to the other side of the story of from stepmothers and
Right, right.
stepfathers, but it seems like there's a lot more information these days for stepmothers and how hard it is. But the one thing I try to put out, coming from the perspective of somebody who was a stepchild twice, is for these stepmoms, please let the bio kids have time with their parent. It won't harm anything. It's so important, and it'll only, in my opinion, strengthen your relationship with those kids because they see you as secure and they need that time with their parents. So I like to put that message out for any stepmoms listening. And I'm not a stepmom, I'm a mom, but I did experience that same thing. And it's frustrating as the
I found
kid.
myself waiting, hoping that she would die before my father so that we'd have just at least some time with him, with his focus, and to be able to be intimately connected to him. And it didn't happen. She, outlived him. But, um, the flip
That's what
side was
happened to
my
me too,
yeah,
by the way.
my mother married many years later. She basically raised us alone, and then when I was in college, like a month before my graduation, she said, "Hey, I'm seeing somebody and I'm gonna bring him to your graduation." I was like, "Bring him to my graduation? What is going on?" And she came and said, "Yeah, we're getting married." He has 6 children and I have 6 children, and
Oh boy.
who else would want either of us? So we're gonna get married. And they got married within a month or 2, and, I
And
was
you'd never heard about him
I
before.
never
That
had
is
met him or any of his children, and
that's wild.
yeah, but luckily for me, I was on my way out. I was graduating. So I did go back to Cleveland to check out the situation when they got married, and I was there for about a month before I moved to Chicago. I just had to get out of that house, but
Mm.
it wasn't, one family. It's clearly 2 families living under one roof and 2 very big families with a lot of kids, and at that time, I think there were 7 that were between middle school and high school. It was just a lot of kids all in that precious time that, where everyone really doesn't know who they are. They're all trying to figure it out, and, somehow, we muddled through it, but we were not
Did you all go to the same schools? I mean, all
well,
those kids?
for my sisters, oh, the other thing is that my mom had 5 girls and 1 boy,
Mm.
and Harold had 5 girls and 1 boy, so it was 10
Oh.
girls and 2 boys. And both of the boys were number 5 in the pecking order. So it was I mean, we had so much similarity, but, the girls that were still in high school were in the same high school as my sisters, but they weren't friends. They weren't in the same friend group, so it
Mhm.
was very
Mhm.
awkward.
That is
I think
what
it was
happened to me
harder for
too.
I think it was harder for his kids because
Mhm.
suddenly these 6 people moved into their house, and my mom was, of course, the mom, and he would deferred to her. Um, and they were very quiet. They didn't say how they felt about anything, and nor did we. And that was the other thing I was going to share is that um, to step parents, that we knew intuitively as children that my dad wanted us to accept and love his wife. I did not love her, and she was not somebody that made me feel good about myself or brought me in or pulled me in, but I feigned what he wanted me to. So we played the role of, "Oh, hi, dad. Oh, let me put Barry on the phone now." It's like, "Oh, good. Hi," but
Yep.
it was fake, and even as very little kids, I was 8 years old, I was playing the role to make the adults happy, but nobody
Mhm.
ever asked us how we felt about anything or checked in about mental health issues or anything like that. Um,
Where were you in
there
the
were
age order in your
I was
family?
I was number 2,
Okay.
and so I was one of the older kids, and I took care of the younger kids. So there was kind of my mom, when she would pack us up for the summer, she put us in little buddy groups, and I was in charge of taking care of the youngest sister. So, my mom said, comb her hair, make sure her teeth are brushed, take care of her, because she kind of knew the stepmother wasn't going to mother her.
Mm.
And my sister
Mhm.
was only about 2 when she
Mm.
had to let her go down to Florida for the entire summer. 2 or 3.
Wow.
I mean, she was really
Wow.
little.
Mm.
Um, so that was hard. But when my mom married, she still took vacations with just her children without him. And she did some of those things of like, oh, I'm talking on the phone. She says, oh, let me put Harold on. And we would be like rolling our eyes thinking, I didn't call to talk to him. I don't have a relationship with him, but I will play nice. I will do this. And he was a lovely, wonderful man. And um, the children that were in the house that still had time to come together and be together and have shared memories, they did become family because they had memories together and they had
Mm.
time together, but it wasn't instant. So I think that's I think to me the big message is that you can't expect because you've fallen in love with someone that your kids are going to love them or that they're going to love each other or that everybody's going to be happy. I think you just have to be patient and let time develop these relationships, and even if they're not super close, you'll have some shared memories and shared experiences, which we did, and, I loved my stepfather. When he died, I was really sad. I thought he was a really lovely man, but it took decades to get to know him and to
Mm.
feel connected in a way that I could say I loved him.
Are you still connected to those step siblings?
Yes, in some ways. Well, in a lot of ways, because they're still some of them still live close to my mom, and they're very close to my mom. And they kind of adopted her as their mom. Their mother died, maybe in the last 5, 10 years. And so my mom's been their only parent.
Mhm.
And their love and connection to my mom has pretty much made them family to me as well. And I'm close to some of their children. So, I just had one of my stepsister's, um, son call me Aunt Kiki when he spoke of me, and, that's really cute because technically I'm not, but
Yeah.
yeah, so, I mean, I've really come to see that it's about time spent together that bridges these things.
And I think, from my experience, forcing time together, forcing it to happen just doesn't happen. And
Yeah, it
I
causes
think
resentment.
it causes resentment. And I think your mother had mostly good EQ in the sense that she still spent time with you all alone and then also brought you all together, but it doesn't sound like it was all forced upon you.
No.
And I think that balance is really smart. I
Yeah.
think both. So, did any of your siblings rebel against any of this, or did everybody toe the line like you?
I think with my dad, he was very strict, so we all just were fell in line. Um, but various things happened, where I think there were a lot of emotional issues that were unexplored. 3 of my sisters had eating disorders. One of my sisters got pregnant in high school. So things happened, um, but things weren't talked about, you know? It was very, I don't know, it just was kind of a perfect storm all the time with so many kids, so much going on. I often as a kid felt like, especially with my dad, that I was just one of the pack, like we were a herd or a pack, but not individuals. He
Mm.
didn't really I didn't feel like I had it we were just the kids, the group that came and descended upon him for the summers and holidays, and that was it. So, that wasn't very, that didn't work out great, but with my mom, I think she's always maintained her own personal relationship with each individual child, and I haven't felt like one of a bunch with my
Mm.
mom.
It's interesting that you mentioned that 3 of your siblings had eating disorders because I'm actually interviewing a woman tomorrow named Mallory Tenor Tarpley who just wrote a book about her mother dying when she was 11 and then having a terrible eating disorder, terrible case of anorexia afterwards. And I also had anorexia in my teens after my mother died. I think girls, particularly adolescents and later teenagers, it's a way to try to have some control over a
Right.
situation
They're
they
not
feel out
gonna
of control
exactly, so they're not gonna speak up and make trouble, make
mm,
waves. They're just punishing themselves or hurting.
themselves.
Yeah, so yeah,
Well,
and I
so
mean, that
oh, go
seems
ahead. Sorry.
kind of like that was the theme in our families that everybody, behaved well, but, what you were feeling and what you were going through was maybe underneath not expressed.
So going forward, I find it so fascinating coming from this background that you wanted to be a foster parent. Having all these kids and
Right.
everything and having to deal with all that, that you then had your own family and wanted to bring in other kids. I think it's remarkable. And I'd love to hear more about your own family as a
Well,
mom.
my 3 kids were Chloe and Max, my 2 oldest, were about to go off to college when I decided that I could take on foster kids. My youngest is 8 years younger than Chloe, so he's 8 and 10 years younger than his siblings. Same father, but just a big gap there. And, so he was around while I just did the fostering. Um, in some
You're
ways, the fact that I decided to become a foster parent was a little bit like what my parents had done to me by getting married and bringing other people into the house because it was my decision. But it really affected Jack's life quite a bit. My first foster assignment were 2 little girls. They were 9 and 10, siblings that lived in, Marin City, so not too far from here. But it really affected his life because my focus was really pulled towards, their needs, and they had needs that I didn't even foresee. I mean, I had not raised children that had trauma, so
mm.
I felt really good about myself as a mother, and I felt like I was really, that's what I could say I felt most proud of as a person, what I've done. I felt really confident as a mother. Um, Raising children who have had, trauma in their lives is a different story. They're not gonna act the same way, they don't feel the same way. They have you can't just love it out of them either, all the trauma, all the problems. It's hardwired. If a baby's needs aren't met, the basic needs when they're infants, they have attachment disorder, and they have maybe some other psychological disorders and behavior disorders and such. So those 2 years with the girls was a learning experience for me, and it was really demanding for Jack as well.
So what made you want to do that? You had 2 kids going off to college, you had a much younger baby, and now you wanna bring in more young kids. What made you wanna do that?
I think I had the audacity to think that I was, like, such a super great mom, and this was my way to give. I also had always felt that and I always have talked about it with my kids, that we have an obligation to give and to be of service to other people. And, even when the kids were little, we drove for Meals of Marin and they would complain and say, "Why do we have to do this?" And I'd say, "Because we have a car, because we can, because we have everything else we need, and it's our duty if we have if we have the ability to do it." And so I always did think this is the heavy lifting. I wanted to test myself and see if I could do the heaviest lifting. Like, can you give 24/7 to something you believe in? Can you literally bring people into your life, into your home, and love them and care for them without a break? And, it definitely was one of the hardest things I've ever done. But also, I did feel like it was something I needed to do, that it was something I could do and that I needed to do.
Do
So,
you think that when you, I think, mentioned your parents were strong Irish Catholics, was that part of your upbringing in any way religiously, or is that something your mother taught
no,
you, or is this something that came just from you?
no, I was just laughing with a friend. being Catholic is so different than being Christian. We never talked about God, and we didn't actually do any service or any of that other stuff. It was, um no, it was just a lot of teaching, but not living not living this thing. So it wasn't religious. I think I just always felt like, um, I wanted to see how heavy I could lift. It was kind of my Olympics, see if how far I can push and see if I can do this. To me, I thought it was the heaviest ask to actually put yourself in there and take care of somebody. So,
You're again, I think you're remarkable.
well, thanks.
You have a lovely idyllic life and a lot of people wouldn't do that. They wouldn't want to disrupt this life they've got, especially at that stage of life where, you've got one kid left. And I just think you're remarkable and such a
Oh, thanks.
generous person. Um,
Thanks.
and and so there's more to well, I do want to continue to talk about how that worked with Jack, with the kids coming in. And then I want to talk about too the other part of your life and um your marriage and the other piece of it that you've blended. So I'll let you sort of talk about all of that.
Oh, okay. So I was doing this fostering on my own. My husband and I were married for 20 years, but we actually separated around 15 years. And so I became a foster mom and for the most part was kind of a single mom, but Jeff lived very nearby and we never had any structured um arrangement around custody or any of that. We never did that. The kids went back and forth when it worked for everybody, and, we just always got along great that way, and so, we maintained, thank God, like, we maintained our love and respect for each other as 2 people that helped grow each other up. When I think about growing up, like, you think about who you grew up with, like your own family, your siblings. I lived in the same house with my siblings for what, 18 years? I lived with Jeff for 15 years. So we grew up together and we formed our adulthood together. And I think what's great is we've been able to respect and love that we did all that together. We
Mm.
became adults together. We became parents together. We became homeowners together. We entered the business world together. So um, we didn't lose that when our marriage ended. It just changed the way things were. Um, Jeff and his partner have since had a child, and she seemed to, for me, kind of just complete the picture of what our family was supposed to be. She's the kid's youngest sister, and, um, when she was born, I just knew that I wanted to be in her life too. I didn't think of her as being Jeff's and Mary's child, but that she was just part of our family. And one of the key things there too is that I was from the Midwest and I moved out here and I've been in Jeff's world. This is where his family lives. I've been a part of his extended family, his mother, his father, his siblings, all of their children, and I've spent much more of my life with his family than my own family because I only fly to see my family.
Mhm.
So, I did not lose my extended family in the divorce. I still spend every holiday with Jeff's family, and I'm there with Mary and Jeff and Addie, and, we have this routine. I mean, our custom is that we have Christmas morning at my house. They come up, and now we even all wear the same pajama, or sometimes the girls will wear the same pajamas and such, but I make Christmas breakfast. We open all our presents. A few hours later, maybe I make the dinner or we go to grandma's house or whatever, but we're basically a pack the way they make pack that we made packs in during COVID, that we're a pack as the family. So, um, and it's been really gratifying to me, and it's been great for my kids, and I think that we all have really enjoyed, uh, just being able to not say, "Well, I'm gonna go to dad's or I'm gonna go to yours for the holidays. We're just all together. And I've noticed that my in-laws are doing that now with their children's new in-laws. So that I was thinking very much that being a daughter-in-law, like I have been with my ex and a sister-in-law, feels very similar to me to being a stepchild or something.
Hmm.
Someone else chose the relationship, but now you've inherited this other family. So my nephew's wife's family is now part of Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving's getting quite big, but it's like more is better. You know, we just keep getting a bigger and bigger family. The same thing happened. This one's kind of unique too. My sister had a baby in high school who was adopted by a lovely couple. And when when he was 21, we found him and reached out to him, and he did wanna be to meet, and he became part of our family because he had been an only child, and then all of a sudden he realized he was part of this bigger family.
Big family.
But we also adopted his parents because they were each only children.
Wow.
So his family, my sister's son, or, she was the birth mom, but their family is now part of our family as well. In fact, his mother died, his adoptive mother,
Mm.
and his father and his new wife are visiting my sister right now. So, I mean, our family is just it just gets bigger, and you don't have to say it's either this or that. Even, but it comes from people that aren't intimidated. Like his adoptive mother was not afraid or intimidated by him connecting with his birth family. She was happy to have him add us to his life.
It almost sounds like, and the moral of this story is
Add,
if
just keep adding people.
keep adding people, but also maybe try your best to take away the threat of um having these relationships, the threat of what's the word I'm trying to come up with? Being threatened, I guess, the feeling of being
Yeah,
threatened uh by having these relationships, because all of those things you're talking about are not the norm, it seems like. But look at this world you've got around you. By being open hearted and by taking away the threat or worry that by maintaining these relationships or opening yourself up to them, you're going to change your life. So,
right. And it takes two. Like for me, Jeff's partner Mary is open to me. It's not just me being open to their
mhm.
relationship, but she's open to me. In fact, we express our love for each other. We're close. I mean, she's part of my family. She's someone I love. I'm someone she loves. We get each other presents for and celebrate each other's birthdays, and we're in each other's lives. It's not just tolerating each other. So
But that's
it
that's
makes
a
it rich for
huge
all of us.
thing.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing, and that's a
I'm not
huge
sure why
choice you've both
we
made.
can't overcome that, though. I'm not really sure why it's the norm that people feel they have to sort of draw the line with an ex-spouse. I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me. My parents did it, and it was awful because that cut us in half, that we
Mhm.
were 2 different people on 2 different places, and having 2 parents that didn't talk to each other, who didn't love each other, who didn't respect each other, who spoke ill of each other, that was just gut-wrenching as a child. The anger between them and the disrespect was awful.
So you've completely turned the dime on that and created a world where that didn't happen and it's not happening. And how just kind of to come full circle on this, how do your kids feel about all of it? The fostering, I'm sure they're grateful that you've maintained this nice relationship with their father. And did you only have those two little girls? You had
No,
others too, right?
I've had more, yeah, and I'm still doing it. I still get infants now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. No, yeah, I'm still doing it. I take I haven't had any permanent long-term placements, but I've
Hmm.
been taking babies for Yeah, I think the last one I had for a longer time was maybe 2, 3 weeks. But, I will take infants, but my kids won't let me take older kids anymore because I had some issues with, um I my last placement that I took was a teen unaccompanied minor who had a baby, and so I took the 2 of them, but I didn't know she was a prostitute, and she had somebody come up to my house, so after that, my kids said, "You're not having anybody older that has a cell phone, you have to only take infants."
Oh
So I
my
said,
gosh.
"Okay."
She was
Yeah,
having clients come to your house?
she did. She was only there one night, but she went off and I couldn't find her, and I went down in my threw the baby in the car, went down the street and found her in the truck with a man, so I was like, "Okay, that's it," and my
Yeah.
kids were like, "Mama, you're putting yourself at risk. You can only take babies." And I love the babies, and I do think that the infants, it's the most important thing that their brains are developing, that their needs be met, that they're touched, that they're loved, that they're and that comes so easily to me. The babies are uncomplicated. Some of them have or most of them have, like, some issues with alcohol or drugs, dealing with that in their bodies, but they are infants and they respond to love, and that's just I love that. It's great.
Mm, I
But
love that you do that.
my kids said I think they've all said they've learned a lot from it. Jack actually wrote, I think he wrote about it when he was writing his essays to get into college, and he never told me he was happy about it or proud of it or whatever, but in his essay, he did say that he had learned so much about what he had by being with kids and raising kids that did not have what he had had. The stability, consistent care and, having a solid roof over your head. So, it was good for them. They learned a lot.
Mm,
We all learned a lot.
absolutely. Of
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
Do you have any advice or about people who are interested in fostering? We had Barb Sabito on here
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know
recently.
Barb.
I'm guessing you know her. Yeah.
I've
We
taken
talked a
one of
lot
her
about.
children for her. I took, one of her little girls as a, respite so that she could
Okay.
have a break. Yeah,
Okay. Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Well, do you have any advice you could give to people who are considering fostering?
Well, I think it depends on the age you're taking, but knowing that it is 24/7. So I think a great way to start is to get your license and become respite care, taking care of other people's kids so you can see how you do with a week of taking another child into your family because it really is, it's all in. I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
It's a big responsibility.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But it is, it also matters. Each child is going to be different too, and what they've been through is different. So, I think for me, one of the hardships was that I wasn't strict. I didn't know really how to be strict. And some of the teams that I had needed that a
Mm,
little bit more boundaries and maybe a firmer hand. And if had been in a couple, if I had had a partner, I think that would have been helpful. So I think if you're in a partnership, it's a lot easier to become a
mm.
foster family successfully.
Well, teens are tough under
I
the best of
know.
circumstances.
I know, and the
But
teens
they're
and
probably the ones that need it the
they
most,
are,
really.
they
Yeah.
are, they are, they really desperately need, um, the stability. So, yeah, they need just great people to take them for sure. But, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for all of this. And
Sure, thank you for having
j-
me.
any before we wrap things up, anything else any other pieces of wisdom that you'd like to share just about blending families?
Um, I have some friends right now that are struggling with new daughter-in-laws or son-in-laws, whatever, and what I would say for all of these things is you just have to give it time that, um, you can't instantly be family, just like when we were stepkids, that it the love, the respect happens over time with more things that you share together, vacations, do as many things as you can together as a family. Sometimes it's hard if the kids live in a different state or whatever, but just try to be physically present as much as you can. I think particularly moms of sons sometimes get pushed out by the new wife, and that's really tough too, navigating what is your place
Yes.
when your son gets married. But I didn't. Did your son just get married?
My son got married about 2.5 years ago to, just a lovely woman that he was with 10 years at that point, and
So she was already
I adore her.
family. Right,
She's
she
already
was already
family,
family.
but they moved to Berlin during the
Oh,
pandemic and haven't come back. So for me, it's been a journey, as a
sure.
mother because we were very close, and I still feel very close, but I feel, the time difference is tough to ever talk to them and seeing them. I just got to see them, so that was great, but it had been 10 months since I'd seen them, and
It's hard
so it
not being in their day-to-day life.
yes, I do
Yeah.
miss that, and I at the same time, I'm trying to learn, hey, they get to do what they wanna do because it's their life just like I did, and so this is something that's been huge for me that I've been navigating, and, I don't know where it's gonna end up. Obviously, hope they would like to come back, but if they don't, then I'm gonna have to figure out how to see them
You're
more
gonna have to
and
get a pied a terre out there, right?
that would be nice. And speaking of all that, what's going on with you? Anything else you've got that you're excited about?
My project, Empowered Energy Heroes, is streaming on Tubi now. It's also on PBS, but PBS is kind of funny because each station gets to play things when they want to, so I can't say when you would see it or whatever, but if you wanna just see it immediately, you could see it on Tubi.
Say the
Um,
name of it again?
uh, Empowered Energy
Empowered.
Heroes.
Okay.
Right. And my daughter Chloe is the talent, narrator of that. So I'm tickled because we got to work on that together.
So nice.
Yeah.
Well, we'll put that in our show notes
Okay.
and all of your other information so people can follow you and see these films and support your organizations if they're interested. And if you want other information, please follow me on Instagram. And that's it. I just want to thank you so much
Well,
for
thank
being
you,
here.
Robin.
It was great
Good to see
talking to
you.
you. Good to
Nice
see
seeing you,
you.
neighbor.
I hope I'll see you again soon.
I know. We'll play
Not so
mahjong.
long. Yeah, I would love that.
Okay.
All right. Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.